Okay, here we go. But there's a lot of noise in here. But that's okay, because we're on location anyway. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the Veterans Corner. And we're doing a different kind of veteran again. We just had Reveille.
Yeah.
I think we did.
I think we're awake.
Yeah. This is Mel Jackson sitting here with the Preacher. The Preacher.
On the corner with you.
We're at the Golden Corral. Golden Corral. The reason we're here, it's not a live remote, it's a recorded remote, but we came down here to see the Vietnam Veterans Wall. The Veterans Wall, the Vietnam Veterans Wall is down here in Punta Gorda. It's a small replica of the one that's in Washington, D.C. Previous to this, I've never seen the one in Washington, D.C., but they did bring a replica to DeSoto County.
Mm-hmm. Now, for you vets that are out there and you're listening to our syndicated channels, we are located in DeSoto County in Florida, Central Florida. And I tell you, we live in a county that has a whole bunch of orange trees.
Yeah, and I'm fiddling with the mic here, trying to get. I can't remember which setting it is for the omnidirectional, but anyway, I think I got it right here.
Okay.
So
good.
So that we're going to do about a 30-minute recording here, I believe.
30 minutes.
Maybe 15.
Well, it depends how much BS we got going today.
Okay. Okay. Well, okay.
Right. We'll do what we do.
It's a Saturday morning. We met up here. Preacher and I met up here at the Vietnam Veterans Wall. I took, as you can see, there's a bunch. Well, if you're watching the YouTube version of this, there's a bunch of pictures I'm putting up here. It was hard with the camera. There's only so much you could take because basically it's a big long wall with more than 58,000 names on it. And there's two gentlemen on that wall. When it was in DeSoto County, one of my friends' names was Willie Durham, and I was able to find him. When I did it, I forgot that there was another friend of mine that died in Vietnam. His name was Carl Nall. I neglected to look him up on the wall. What I have to do is, and I'll be able to find it if I go to a website. They'll tell me which panel it is and which section of that panel, and then I'll be able to come back and find it.
Yeah, we'll relay that to you guys so that you can pipe into it too and get some information that you might, that if you're around one of the rolling walls or in some other town that you'd be able to plug into it.
Is that what we had the rolling wall in DeSoto County?
Yes.
Yeah.
I tell you moving wall, I guess.
The moving wall?
Yeah.
And it's a moving experience, I can tell you that.
Gosh. Move my soul.
I went down there and I took a bunch of pictures, as you can see on the YouTube version here. In Radio Land, you won't be able to see them, but anyway.
You'll just have to take our word for it.
But it's a beautiful thing, and I would encourage anybody, if you have the chance, a Saturday morning or something, or if you're retired and you got the weekdays. I mean, it's a beautiful thing. It's a solemn occasion to come here and to see this Vietnam Wall. While I was going down, looking at the names, perusing the names, I saw down in the gutter, there's a little gutter right in front of it. It's not a gutter, but it's a little trough, like. At a couple different locations, there was a Purple Heart medal laying there. I suppose it was, I don't know. I don't know if it was what was actually awarded to the person or if maybe it was a replica. But I picked one of them up and looked at it. It looked to me like it was probably maybe an original. I don't know.
Well, the thing, there's a lot of reasons that people leave things at the wall. This is the first time that I've gotten to see the one in Punta Gorda. The wall is still a very touchy issue for me. Mm-hmm. Evidently, it got so touchy, I just forgot what I was even talking
being
about. Sorry, I didn't mean
to. The preacher was there, made it there. I overslept this morning, and the preacher made it to the wall before I did.
I did the recon work.
Yeah. So I got there, and I noticed you were up there. There's a fountain.
Yeah.
Big, noisy fountain. I mean, a big fountain.
And a gazebo.
Yeah, and a gazebo. And the preacher was up there, and he wasn't down at the wall. And I'm thinking, well, maybe he's already looked at the wall, but he hadn't.
No, it's still I have bad experiences. Every time I go, it's never done anything good to help me with my issues. Yeah. I'll tell you what has, though, other vets that were there with me.
Yeah.
You know, there were plenty of times that I mean, it would just turn me inside out, and there was always somebody there that said, "Hey, preach, I got you. I got you." And that's what we talk about a lot of times. One vet helping another. a lot of the guys, they understand.
Yeah.
You know, I remember one time we almost beat up this guy because he stuck a camera. Somebody was weeping, and they were really going through a real hard time. And he stuck a camera in his face, and let me get a picture, and asking him questions, just not letting the man have his space, and we had to usher him away.
Yeah.
But that's what we do. We kind of watch over each other, and when things aren't really going that good, we can do something. And when things are going good, we like sharing that too. That's why Mel and I and Don do what we do.
Preacher, do you have many friends that's on that wall? That memories of people that's on that wall? Or maybe you've forgotten them.
I'm sure there are. I know there's one time I went and the first guy I saw killed was on that wall, and I didn't even expect to find his name. Didn't even expect to.
Yeah. But there's as I said, there's two fellows that I know in particular that are on there, and it's because I went to school with them. One of them I was in 6th grade with, and the other one he was in high school and I was in junior high. We were both on the judo team in Columbus, Ohio, and we competed in judo tournaments. And he was a small fella, but he was real scrappy.
Yeah.
And his name was Willie Durham. And I remember his one goal in life was to graduate from high school, Central High School, downtown Columbus, and to go into the Marines and to go to Vietnam. That was his goal in life.
Goal, huh?
And sadly enough, he did. Well, I mean, he did make it into the Marines, which was good, and he went directly to Vietnam. Unfortunately, from what talking to his family, he was killed immediately. Well, almost within a week or so. He was on a patrol, and they got ambushed. And then Willie came back home, and I went to his funeral, and I remember looking at he was under glass. He was in his uniform under glass, and that was a sort of a surreal experience. I'd never viewed anybody under glass, but I guess maybe it's a good thing he was under glass because he'd been dead for a while.
Yeah.
But anyway, the other fellow was named Carl Nall, and the reason I enjoy remembering the stories about these guys. Now, I didn't know Carl Nall that well, but I was a tall guy in class. Well, Carl was taller. He was the tallest guy in class. But Carl was very timid. And I remember there was this bully who was the bully of the class, was shorter than me. It wasn't as tall as me. And but he was he was a tough guy, and every time he'd pass by Carl Nall's chair, he'd slug him in the back. And Carl Nall would never say anything because he was a very timid guy. But I noticed he would sit there and tears would run down his face. Every time this guy slugged him.
Just trying to control it.
So the next time we went out to recess, this is 6th grade. It was military, elementary. In 6th grade, we went out, and this bully came up to me, and I guess he comes up to everybody. Oh no, actually, I came up to him and I says, "I want you to quit hitting Carl in the back. I don't want to see you do that no more." And he looks up at me, he goes, kind of like blows his lips. Well, when he did that, a little bit of slobber from his lips hit me in the cheek. And I'm thinking, that's enough. I gave him my excuse.
That's the red line.
That was the red line. I took him to the ground, and I didn't pummel him or anything. What I did, I took him to the ground. He was on his back. I laid on him. I basically just humiliated, just laid on his face, and he couldn't get up. I was a good wrestler. He could not get up. He couldn't get out from under me, and finally he just had to ask me to get up. Well, that's all he needed. And I said, "Okay, I don't want you to hit me."
Gee, I'd like to fight you sometime. If that's as far as you go.
I wasn't out to hurt him or anything. I just wanted to get my point across that you don't hit Carl Nall in the back no more.
So now you can understand why Mr. Trump has to get a point across to the bullies.
Yeah.
The bullies of the big schoolyard.
And I believe at this point he does have his point. Like we was talking on the Veterans Corner the other day, that he has set a tone.
Yeah.
Him and Secretary Kelly of Homeland Security, General Kelly, they set a tone. Like
Well, yeah,
And,
I would say when you drop the mother of all bombs, that tends to say something. You know?
Yeah.
I remember one time I was at a party and all I did was pull the trigger once, but it set the tone for
Yeah.
the rest of the night. I didn't shoot anybody, I just shot into the ceiling, but it set the tone.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess if you do the right thing, it's easy to set a tone. But that's what I did with that bully. I set the tone for Carl. But now, Carl, evidently he went off and after I lost track of him after that because we went to junior high and we went different ways. But Carl ended up going into the Marines, and he went to Vietnam and he died. And his name was on that wall. And tonight I'm going to find out just exactly which panel it is. And I don't know if this brings honor to anybody, but in my heart, I want to go see his name, do the whatever that we call it, hazing or the
The etching?
etching.
Yeah.
Do the etching.
Yeah, where you put a piece of paper up and a pencil and kind of scratch the name. You don't
Say,
scratch the actual panel, but you
And
scratch a
I
piece
know
of paper.
Carl's dead and gone, and
Well, that's one of the things with you talking about the etching, and we were talking earlier about the trough that runs at the bottom where they left the Purple Hearts. And
Yeah.
some people will leave flowers, some will leave
a lot of flags. There's a lot of flags
some
down
kind
there.
of memorial
Yeah.
to say, hey, I was here.
Yeah.
And I rode cross country with Run for the Wall for a lot of years. And I remember one time there was a trucker in Indiana that I was just sitting on my bike and hanging out and stuff. And he came over and he said, are you with all these guys? And there were about 300 of us. I said, yeah. And he says, well, what are you doing? He said, are you the Hells Angels or something? Well, no, we're vets, know. And he said, well, you guys are actually riding to the wall. He said, look, if I give you something for a friend of mine, will you take it to the wall for me? He says, I don't ever get that way. I don't get east. He said, I really would like to leave it for him. He said, I'll be right back. And he went to his truck and he came back and he had a pack of Lucky Strikes in his hand. He said, the last time I talked to my friend and he gave me his name, he said he asked me for a pack of cigarettes in Nam.
Yeah.
And I knew he smoked Lucky Strikes because we both did. And I didn't have any. And it bothered me all these years that I didn't even have a cigarette for my friend on his last day of life. Will you take this to the wall for me? What an honor. What an honor for an ordinary guy.
And he kept it in his truck for years and years.
I have no idea how long it sat in that truck.
Yeah.
But I know it had been on his mind for a long time. But what an honor to ask me to do that, and just to set it in front of the panel in that trough.
Yeah.
And some people will lay flowers down, some of them will leave a note.
Yeah.
I'm sure that some of those guys in D.C., they have people that volunteer to help you guide you through there and stuff, so you can find the name, and they have all of that. But it's a little bit different here in Punta Gorda. You kind of got to have your stuff together before you get there.
And the traveling wall that came to DeSoto County, they had somebody. Of course, they was only going to be there for a short amount of period of time anyway. But they did have a tent where you
They
could
had
go
a
up,
book and stuff you
people
could
would
go
look it
to.
up before they tell you exactly where to go to see the name. Oh, man, they're going to be the exact pinpoint.
I wanted to make that point on that trough, and for those of you who may be going to the wall for the first time, it is okay. There's kind of a thing that veterans do with each other of leaving coins on the headstones.
Yeah.
And the different denominations have a different purpose.
Yeah.
Whether you were in country or in service with the guy, whether you were with him the day he died, that's a quarter. There's just all kinds of different things, ways to honor. I as a vet, I wrestle with it because like most combat vets, I can't get caught up on the friendship. I lose it emotionally. And it was that way in Nam too. You cannot afford the luxury of having those kind of emotions that distract you from what's going on around you, because you can die in a split second.
Yeah.
But excuse me, folks. I guess I tend to get a little bit emotional still too, so I somehow detach. And one of the things I do is call it rationalizing or justifying, whatever you want. But at the same time, I'm thinking that I wish they were alive. I'm really glad that they're not alive and they didn't get treated the way we were when we returned. I was telling a fella at the wall this morning, he and his wife were talking to me, and I said, I spent 30 years, I wouldn't even talk to other vets. I don't want to bring it up. Anybody, oh, were you in Vietnam? The few times that I was so drunk that I did bring it up, I really regretted it, because the people that loved me didn't know that I could be that way. And it was a shock to them. My ex-wife was one of them. She didn't realize the kind of man that she married. I say that gratefully because I'm glad that the attitude on Vietnam vets is not the same as it was 30 years ago. We came back, you know, the same people that were protesting to end the war, thinking they're going to do us a great favor, were the same people that called us baby killers. And they're exactly the same people. And for the first time in history, what makes the Vietnam vet different than any other vet in any other war was, for the first time in the history of warfare, and it's been going on for a long time, Cain and Abel. In the history of warfare, had a soldier never gone out to protect his people and come home and be disgraced by those very same people. That had never happened in history, and that is really what has made Vietnam vets different about how they view the world and how they view people and stuff like that, is we didn't know how to deal with it. And of course the veterans that had come before us, the Korean vets, which Don is a Korean vet, and the World War II vets, they didn't understand that. They felt like we were crybabies. Later on, they don't feel that way today. They know that what we were saying about PTSD and about Agent Orange has been proven true now. But I remember getting chased out of an American Legion, thinking about joining, and they said they didn't want our kind there.
Really? Oh.
You guys know, I did prison ministry for 30 years. The reason that my ministry was so effective wasn't because I went to a great Bible school or theological seminary or any of that, because I never have. What made it effective was that 1/3 of every prison and jail population in this country was Vietnam vets. And it has been common in every war, when the vets come home, it is not a real pleasant time for civilized people, because we have to get civilized again. And it feels so foreign. It feels like we're dropping our guard. And that's where PTSD comes in, is we can't afford to drop our guard. It's life and death. But we find a way to deal with it so that it's comfortable, so that it's constructive. I shouldn't say comfortable, constructive.
I wonder what the prisons are looking like now, because if it's filled with, it was filled with Vietnam vets, I mean, they'd all be looking like us.
Well, you know what? That might be something to think about, because I'm sure if they were able to give me the figures of 1/3, those figures are out there in the annual physical reports.
And those guys
states
are constantly dying off.
Yeah, well, they're dying off, but every war since Korea, I think this is the thing that might bring comfort to my country. If you think about invading this country, and you might be listening to this program, don't do it. We have 5 wars of combat-ready veterans that'll step into action in an hour, in a half an hour, in 10 minutes.
In 1991, when we started with the Desert Storm? When we started that, I was working midnight shift, but I was in a situation where I could watch a TV a little bit, and I was watching those, and they said the B-52s were flying over there. And I'm thinking, my gosh, I got to get in. I got to go re-enlist.
I know what to do.
I was 41 years old, and I'm thinking, well, I know they ain't gonna take me. I said, I can step up there, load those, because I loaded the B-52s. And I was ready to go. I thinking, family, I'll be back in 4 years, or whatever.
Now, isn't that something? And your experience is so common to most of us vets. For 30 years, this country spit in our face. We were the low rung of the totem pole of society in America. And yet, we're still willing to put our life out there.
Yeah.
I knew the military wouldn't take me, but I knew they were setting those oil wells on fire. So I called Red Adair and I said, Red, you got to put me in, man. I got to do something. And he said, Preach, I'm telling you, you're too old. I can't, you're too dangerous. I said, well, I already knew that. But, that desire to do something to protect my country was back.
Yeah.
And I tell those guys that when we realized the only success I've really seen has been Kuwait, when we freed Kuwait. And we did it. But then we got talked back into going back into Iraq. And everybody knows the story from there. But I want to tell you guys, for you vets that are out there, that your Desert Storm, Iraq, you gave me my dignity back. You gave me something to be proud of. When I saw that guy run out on the boom of his tank retriever and wrap that chain around Saddam Hussein's statue, I thought it was me. I ran out on my boom so many times. I was in tanks and Amtraks when I was in Nam. And it was, you guys gave me my dignity back. And that from that day on, I made it a point, and I still do it today. I'm going to give you a welcome home and a hug, and you'll get a drink.
Of milk.
Well, they can have any drink that they want, but I'm going to slam a jug of milk right beside them. They throw that shot glass on the bar. My carton's going on it too. But, I want to make sure that you guys don't get treated the way we did.
Yeah.
And that gave me a reason to keep on living. Because sometimes life is real cheap. And one thing that combat teaches you is how to throw it away. Because life is real cheap in combat. People dying all the time. But those guys, they propped my head up. They put some breath back in my chest where I had a reason to stay alive. And I didn't really go looking for them, but I was traveling on trains and stuff, and I'd see them, and, they get a drink and a hug.
Yeah.
And I want to thank you guys for giving me a reason to live. And this is part of my reason to live, doing what we do on the program here, is just helping support another vet through some of these emotional traps. Sometimes I end up getting emotional. I don't even want to.
Well, folks, here we sit. Preacher Man and Mel Jackson sitting here at Golden Corral, Punta Gorda, Florida.
Yeah.
And we're just come away from visiting the Vietnam Veteran Wall here in Punta Gorda. It's a permanent wall.
It's at Lashley Park.
There's over 58,000 names on it.
And it's really shaped the way the one is in D.C. too. It goes downhill to the middle.
Yeah.
And then back up the hill.
Oh, there's a big, beautiful fountain there. It's noisy.
Oh, yeah.
The water is spewing out there. But if you have your smartphone with you and you come here and you don't realize or know where the name is you're looking for, there's websites at the end of each corridor, and you can look up a website right on the spot, and it'll tell you exactly where your loved one is on that Vietnam War.
Make it as easy for you as they can.
Yeah. So
I'm not high tech that way.
But
it's the way things are.
Yeah. I got a smartphone, but I'm not smart enough to use it.
It's smarter than me.
Yeah. So anyway, we're going to sign off here from the Veterans Corner because we've gone 25 minutes or so.
I had no idea we could make it go this long.
Yeah, and with a few commercials thrown in there.
And very little BS.
Yeah. Yeah, and I wanted to tell you the stories about my friends out there on that wall, Willie Durham and Carl Dahl. And, my hat's off to them. I owe my life, And I wish, it really saddens me because they were taken away from us 40-some years ago, back late 60s, early 70s. I don't know when Carl died.
Yeah,
but I know
memories
it was
never go away.
late 60s. And they, it's no telling what they could have accomplished in their life, but they were taken away from us.
Yeah.
Almost immediately getting into Vietnam, and they've been gone and missed. I've thought about them many times over the years.
Yeah. And you always want the best for them.
Yeah.
You want to, even though when we came home, I can't really say it was the best. I was so confused, so
Yeah.
mixed up, you know, on where my allegiances were at, what I'd been doing with my life for the last 13 months. And I was so unsure of myself. Today I'm a little bit more sure anyhow. I'm pretty sure Jesus loves me.
Yeah.
That's what makes me preacher. It's not because of any other. If he can love me, I know he can love you.
All right, this is the Veterans Quarter signing off.
One vet helping another. God bless you all.